Well, hello again, YouTubers. Reloading Bench back with you once again to do a little, I'll call this a deeper dive. We're not getting into trimming just yet. I think that'll be probably the next video. And I wanted to talk about a few things. One, as I actually did read the manual to find out what I need to do and learn a little bit more about this particular beast. You may have seen me handling this piece of brass. I would highly recommend, obviously, decap and have it already resized before messing around with trimming and setting up your settings, because you might have a proud or not fully seated primer or whatever, because again, this does not trim off the shoulder. This trims off the length of the casing as it's cam locked in here and then lowered onto the cutter. So a very different type of trimming than anything I've used before. And I wanted to talk about the baggies of surprises that had labels all over them, and you couldn't really see them in my previous video. And I stated that, oh cool, let me rephrase that, I misstated, oh cool, I have extra shell holders, and the Lee shell holders are compatible, and then I threw one in here to show that it would lock. The Lee the Lee shell holders are not compatible, and when I take this apart, I will show you why. And the gist of it is because the diameter of the hole is not the same. And you will see that very clearly. It looks very close, but as you look through the Lee, you can't see that. Suffice to say, you got to take my word for it that the Lee hole is too small for the Hornady, because the Hornady is not meant for priming. It is meant for locking the casing in. And the Lee shell holders, I don't know why I keep saying dies, the Lee shell holders are meant for large and small primer. So that takes care of that. There is no compatible, unless, you know, of course, you take a set of Lee stop with the dies, Lee shell holders, and ream them out so that the plunger tube will fit in there. I played around with different pilot guides, or whatever these things are called, pilots. So we're done with that. We're done with that. I installed a pilot, and again, I'm not going to do any trimming because I have not resized this casing, and I'll go over some of the issues I found here. Issues is an understatement. And these are all of the cool brushes, chamfering, inside diameter, outside diameter, chamfering, large, small. Oh, I thought that was kind of interesting. This didn't even notice this. WTF is up with that? So here is outside diameter that screws in. Ha! The fuck is this? This doesn't, ha! This doesn't, screw in. So, it looks like I'm missing my screw-in version of that. That's pretty interesting. That will be a call to Hornady. Yeah, that's funny. Didn't even notice that. So I have no way. This looks like a just a handheld. Oopsie. Oopsie, oopsie. So I would have to bastardize that from my other tools. That's funny. So ID chamfer tool, so I don't know which one is. Yeah, that'll be a call to Hornady today. Ha ha. That's too funny. Too funny. And I don't remember what this one was for. I'll have to rewatch my video. That is, oh, that was the, duh, that was this one. That's funny. Wow. Hornady will make it right. I'm not worried about that. That's funny. I will need to give them my serial number, and I will probably register at the same time. All right, so there's the tools. And then what I dinked around with previously was getting the cam lock to work. And I will take this apart. Actually, let me move this up. I will take this apart to show you both my confusion and frustration, because as I read the directions, it said to make sure that when this locks that it's facing forward, and I think if you recall it was, you know, facing not forward. And when I did twist it after I set the plunger and a case appropriate shell holder in, it was not locking, and as you can see now it is locking. And also what I found out, maybe the best way to see that is to watch it from the side, is to see how that is actually centered on the pilot. And some of the instructions even indicate, so watch when I loosen the main knob in the back, watch what happens to this plate. It immediately went forward. It went forward and down. And what I found as I was experimenting last night is I couldn't get this to center on the pilot, and that was with the main knob tightened. So I don't know what was happening or what was occurring, because, you know, newness, and I was double checking everything I was doing, but for the longest time I could not get the brass mouth to center on the pilot as I am now. And I'm not touching the blades because I'm not going to be doing any trimming yet. So that was one issue. I was also calling this the I think the main adjust, or, you know, whatever you want to call lowering and raising this, because they also call this the micro. So the main adjust and the micro, I think that's the terms that were used in the directions. Yes, they call this the main adjust handle, this main portion of the handle, and then they call, that's barely in screen, and then they call, again, main adjust handle, and then they call the throat here the micro adjust handle. And I don't know why they do that, because it's the same thing. There's obviously a bolt up here that you can loosen, but that's not going to do anything in my opinion. So I think the reason they call this the main is because, as you can see me moving this now, you know, I'm not really doing anything granular. So when you get close, sorry for my arm in the way. So when you get close, and notice how it's not lining up on the pilot right there. Let me get real close. See how it's not on the pilot? So if I bring this case down anymore, it's not going to seat. So in the instructions, they talk about loosening the cam so that the brass can, see the wiggle? So that the brass can seat on the pilot, and then tightening it when it's on the pilot. I call bunk to that. That's a lot of effing work. And let me rephrase that. Time-consuming work. Not a lot of work, but time-consuming work. So what I found to be my fix is the adjusting of the knob. So let me seat this. Let me cam lock it. And then as I get close, Okay, so I should be over that pilot now. So I'm hitting the pilot. Watch what happens right here when right here, somewhere along here, when I tighten the knob. You see how it locks, it tightens it up and it brings it back. So now I'm close to, in fact, I hit the pilot. So I don't know if my brass was fully seated. So hopefully now I'm clearing the pilot. So again, very different, and I can see the little burr I already created. Very different because I may actually be on the cutter. And then again, watch what happens when I see how close I am when I tighten this. See that? How it moved. So now I'm over the pilot. So if I were to, and again, sorry for the hand, if I were to, and see how it's not directly over the pilot. Now I'm good, so I can do my micro. So what it looks like is, even when this handle is tightened, so this is tight right now, I'm still able to turn this handle, and you can see this move. Not easy. See how it's moving? So this main knob, again, is what I would call locked, tight enough to be locked, yet you can still turn this handle, and this handle has knurling, and each of these little knurls are a thousandth of an inch. And you can see up top here, maybe you can't, but I will take the camera off tripod here in a second, and you can see that there is a very significant deep cut line to measure those thousandth of an inch increments. So even with the main knob locked down, you're able to turn, you know, multiple thousandths of an inch. So that is the micro adjustment versus the large handle for the macro. All right, I already talked about on and off switch, which I'm not real impressed with. Older technology. Putting in the pilot, tightening the set screw, which is why they give you the Allen wrench, no biggie. I would probably, you know, this thing really doesn't move. Plus I'm on a rubber mat. This is on a leather mat, so, you know, I don't really anticipate this thing needing to be locked down, but I mean, you can see me tilting it forward. So, you know, maybe on my T-track, T-slot, I'll lock one side, the front or the rear side down, so that there's no, because it is front heavy, so maybe it'll be the rear. But again, depending on where I put this, we'll see. But one side would get bolted down. All right, let me take this apart, because I have a couple comments on this stuff. The directions talk about lower screw is for pistol, and upper screw is for screw hole is for longer brass, rifle brass. My thought is, you know, again, because of the flexibility, so right now this is set up for rifle, I'm going to open this up, and look how low you can go. And we'll use, you know, I never, ever, ever, ever do pistol brass. Never. Never, ever, 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 ever do straight wall pistol brass. So you can, and actually that's too low. So in reality, you can use the rifle setting there for pistol or straight walled brass. You're just lowering the main knob and this this adjustment more so than you would for rifle. So very, very doable, so that you don't have to take this out and switch it each time. And the reason I'm going to show that to you is because it caused me some angst. Imagine that. So pulling this out, undoing that, pulling this out, this top screw, and I don't remember anyone actually pulling this out and showing it on screen, but that's it in its entirety. And when you take this out, how did I do this before? I've had this out. Now, memory has to kick back in. Okay. It's because... How did I do this? How did I do it? I'm thinking I did it because... There we go. Because I did this. Okay, that's gonna suck. Maybe I had it way up. Maybe that's what it was. Glad it hit the... All right. There we go. So I had this apart, and this is what it looks like. It is amazing how things launch into the atmosphere of the garage floor when you don't want them to. So back where I was, where did it go? It's in here somewhere. So after hands, knees, and flashlight, I found the little ball bearing. So this unit that goes together kind of like this, with this, and then obviously the ball bearing, and then this at the base. So what this looks like, and now I can pull this out. So what this looks like, and what I had to do in its adjustment, motherfucker, what I had to do in its adjustment, and to show you the difference, here's the Hornady shell holder with its throat. Here is the Lee, which won't seat. Will not seat. Hornady. All right, so that puts the Lee shell holder issue to rest. But I've never seen anybody talk about this. So a couple things. One is you can see this. That is what, obviously, when you rotate, that's what puts the pressure on this particular top so that it cams down. So in order to do that effectively so that your cam is at 3 o'clock, you have to rotate this around. And in order to rotate it around successfully, this screw that goes all the way through the shaft essentially lines up on one of these flat surfaces. Because if you have this in the shaft up here, let me take it apart and demonstrate, or show you more clearly. So if you have this particular screw lined up here, it locks this or keeps it from turning, so that allows you to cam down. if you're adjusting this and you hit one of the ridges, you can't insert the screw all the way, because that's just the way it is. And you can see the two settings from the machining for pistol and rifle. All right, so let me get this somewhat back together and show you. Oh, see now, WTF, why wouldn't that, oh, okay. All right, I don't have to take it out through the bottom. That's what happened. So I have to have it up high enough. I have to have this base up high enough to clear this. That's what it was. I didn't think I took it out through the bottom last time. All right, so we can put this back together correctly. See, you're seeing real-time stuff. All right, so we have our ball bearing there. This is tightened enough. I will get a little, because my grubby hands have been all over it, I get a little oilage. Okay, so now I have no idea where my straight flat edge is, or where my my ridge is. So I put my thingy back in, and I will hopefully find All right, so now if I look at this, this won't be, I won't be able to set this correctly yet. Let's see. All right, so right now, this is flat or flush. So I'm going to go for the 3 o'clock position. And I'm going to see if I can insert this screw, because I have no idea if this is there we go. Okay, so now I have my screw inserted. At least I think I have. All right, so it's inserted and it's twisted. So I'm going to see if when I insert this, the cam, so they say to do this with this shell opening facing this open, and then we're going to lock that in. And now I'm going to see if I cam down, it doesn't feel like it. If when I insert my brass, if I go, see, so now by inserting my brass and camming, it's not locking. So this is what I spent a bunch of time with last night, because the adjustment was trial and error to take the screw out to be able to cam this down. And we'll find out if that was enough. Nope, still more. Again, this was the trial and error. And in order to do that, to turn it the degree that I needed to remove the screw. Now I'm putting the screw back in, and I'm going, so I've got tension there. So I'm going to see, so this slides in and out easily, and I do not have enough tension. Back to trial and error. in. It's getting better. Not quite there. And I'm hoping this one is there. All right, so booyah. There's my cam lock. So let me lock the back end. So again, easy in, cammed, locked. Let's see how it and it's centered on the pilot, but again, not ready to cut, not ready to trim yet. That'll be another video after I pull out some resized, again, this is in there. That will be after I pull out some resized brass, or when I resize all of this brass and decap it, and then go after the trim. But I do like the fact that that does lock nicely. Again, it took a little reading and understanding to try and figure out WTH. Taking it apart was very helpful, instrumental in understanding what this is doing in terms of all this screw does is lock this, whatever this piece is called. I can't remember, and my hands are all oily, so I'm not going to pull out the instructions right now. And that should do me there. So we are good, at least for this segment. I will be calling Hornady tomorrow about my my piece, my cool piece that I didn't expect. Keep all this junk together. And we are done. So I haven't seen anybody take this apart to show what's going on with the cam lock. I've heard people complain about the cam lock. I'm gonna guess that they didn't know WTF they were doing. So one of the things the manual did say, let me wipe my hands and I'll point to it, about the pilot and the cam was, note, page 6, note, to ensure proper alignment of the case mouth and the cutter, it may be necessary to run the case mouth down over the cutter pilot before locking the spindle holder retainer. This is the spindle holder retainer. So what they're saying is, don't lock this yet. Cam that down, or excuse me, drop that down so that it's ready, and then it uses the pilot as the guide. And I could probably go a larger pilot for this 308. The reason I went to this smaller one was the other day when I was testing things out, it wasn't seating straight, and again, that was because of how things were locked up and set. So that is the end of part 2. Part 3 will be trimming and using all these other cool tools. Maybe by the time Hornady sends me the correct piece, we'll be good. Take care, folks. Bye.